Good afternoon from Bali, everyone. It's Hanifa Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I wanted to talk to everyone about this awareness of being more the soul than the human form or the mental thoughts or opinions and beliefs and judgments and criticisms and joys and sadnesses. So beyond that we are this soul energy. And I wanted to share this quotation that I really thought was quite useful, and it's by Ram Dass. It says, "In the depth of the soul is the Atman, the oversoul, and that oversoul is really love and compassion, peace, joy, and wisdom." How beautiful is that? Now, I'd like you to know that this space is also known as witness consciousness or pure consciousness, and it just is. It's there to provide energy and strength to everything that we do through this body, through this mind, through our intellect, through our actions, through our words, through our thoughts. And I really believe that if we start understanding the strength of that soul space, we become aware of possible alignment with divinity. So when I read this quotation, by Ram Dass to you, I don't know how many of you might have heard of this name, this Ram Dass, but this gentleman was definitely a spiritual leader. He wrote some beautiful books, beautiful messages that he sent out to the world in terms of his learning and his experiences. And definitely, I understand that he was American, or at least lived in United States for some length of time in his life, and then also went to India for studying. And all I can say is he's a very genuine energy. And there's so many spiritual leaders and gurus, priests, imams, everyone that is speaking from the heart is somewhat connected with this divine space, and we know this. So this person, if you ever did watch his life or saw his life, and he has passed away, but he was such a kind and gentle soul and so wise, and definitely did some wild and crazy things in his early life, and at the end of his life, where he was very, very spiritual, he actually ended up in a wheelchair. And I can say the most notable thing about his mannerism throughout the times that I had listened to him, or can see him now on YouTube, of course, too, is that he was always smiling, he was always laughing, he was always pleasant. He was such a beautiful energy that you could see that anyone he was speaking with was pleased to be speaking with him. And when we think about this space that we're talking about, Atman, the oversoul, today I believe this oversoul is often called the term supersoul. And it really doesn't matter what terms we think of, but if we can think of this as closest to pure consciousness, closest to pure divinity, that energy, it is the space of love and compassion, peace, joy, and wisdom. And this is a space that gives respect to everyone, and love to everyone, and peace to everyone, and kindness to everyone, and consciously does so, which is so beautiful, because an unconscious space may be trained in that, and then coming through the conscious space is beautiful. And you know that the last video that I had made was all about that space between that deep sleep to waking, and when we start thinking, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, or I am hungry, or anything. That's the interesting detail that I do want to point out in this video too, that I am, and we know when we're usually saying these things, it's about me. It's about, I want to do this, I like this, I don't like this, I hate this, I love this, I want this, I don't want this. All of that comes up, and that I space, that they call it, it's not the same as divinity I space. It's an I space much more from an egoic spot, and that egoic spot in Vedic tradition is also known as ahankar. So this is egoic, and what I wanted to bring your attention to for this video, and of course I will chat about more in the next video, is this ahankar is the one that is joined up in that deep sleep space that remembers and holds on to. And we'll say it's got intellect. Oh, it's definitely feeding the intellect. It's also feeding the mind. It's also feeding the body. Ahankara is there, ego is there. And so I thought I also would share this quotation. This one is by Swami Vivekananda. And this quotation says, "This is the secret of spiritual life. To think that I am the Atman," which is capital A, so we say the divine, and not the body, and that the whole of this universe, with all of its relations, with all its good and its evil, is but a series of paintings, scenes on a canvas, of which I am the witness. I, this is divine. So if we look at the different tools that we have at our disposal, our own senses, and remember this whole idea of we actually look outward first before we look within. For most of us, that's been our training in our lives, and it's because the senses are so active as soon as we're awake that we feel, again, whether hungry or the mind reminds us that we've got to do this or that, or we're cold or we're hot, or we're in pain. All of those senses become awakened when we wake up too, and then the I space comes up. And this idea of something else in that divine space that was in deep sleep also is something that's watching this. And something that's watching this cannot be watched. It cannot see itself. And why would it not be able to see itself? Because the vision for seeing that space is beyond our human capabilities of vision. There is a vision, and many can have certain visions in terms of an awareness, and I'll say not such an intellectual awareness, just a knowing. Knowing and knowledge with capital K's are divine energies. The thought I know this is egoic. And so today I thought I would let you reflect on this and contemplate it, because contemplation, meditation, and deep insight into ourselves, self-reflection, those are the things that help us get closer and closer to this divine space. And you know, in many secular religions, it will be more the God consciousness space or divine consciousness, or closest to the examples, the living examples of anyone that was is respected. So let's say if we think of Jesus consciousness or Christ consciousness, or that space, if we think of Jesus's life, or we think of Muhammad's life, or we think of Moses' life, we can see that it's the same as Krishna's life. We can see it as Shiva's life, that it's this divine, this is pure consciousness coming through. And today I would love for you to recognize that that pure consciousness is always there. It's always watching. It's always part of us. And then as we remove the layers of our ego, we become more and more aware of it. And believe me, it's so easy to fall back into that space. And thank goodness for divine intervention that reminds us about exactly who we are. I truly believe we are souls, and I hope today you will reflect on this. I wish you a fantastic day or night, and I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day or night, everyone.